Being a crafty veteran help you in this matchup against Chris Paul? That was a nice way of saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris is pretty crafty himself. He's one of the best in the game at taking advantage of not just the mistakes that the guy makes guarding him, but the guys behind you. If they make mistakes, he's good enough to take advantage of it. And he's tough. He's a competitor. And he really tries to enforce his will upon, the game. And when you have him on your team, he makes everybody better, and it's not going to be an easy task.
How does your ability to read a screen and roll, that people say you can read them pretty well, what they're going to do, play the angles?
Yeah, I mean they run as many as anybody because of how good Chris is in those situations, and so we could easily see 70 to 80 screen rolls per game. So it's a lot of aches and pains for my back and my hips and my legs and everything. But this time of year, I'm willing to do it, and I'll definitely have to anticipate screens coming from every angle.
How much do you think that their effectiveness of doing the screen and roll is less than now with West out? Because Landry's not really the same kind of player that's going to do a pick and pop.
He's not the same player as David West, but he's just as capable. At the end of a night, Carl is capable of having 18 points and 12, 13 rebounds. He's physical. He hits the offensive glass. He does a lot of really good things. Every team he's been on, he's made a difference, and it hasn't been any different since he's been in New Orleans. He's had an impact on their front line. And we're going to have to give him the same type of respect as we give somebody like a David West in order to make sure we're ready for this team.
Over the last couple of weeks, teams have had a lot of success with bottling up Chris and making someone else beat them. How much have you watched those tapes and kind of seen what teams have done to him to get him off his game and have success?
As players, we haven't seen much. I'm sure our coaches have watched a lot of it as far as them helping us decide how we want to defend this team. We've largely watched our 4 games against New Orleans and the things that we were and were not able to do. But as the series moves on, I'm sure we'll have to try and do some different things, mix it up. Chris is like a great quarterback. You can't give him the same look every time out there. He'll pick you apart. So, we'll have to be ready to do whatever it takes to win a game.
Derek, you and Kobe have worn this hat before, but as far as this season goes as co-captains, what's been the main things you two have emphasized as far as making another push here for a title?
I don't know if there's, much of a difference other than, what's at stake, in terms of, our own expectations, where Phil is in his career and, the opportunity for Kobe to continue to put another layer or foundation upon his legacy and, those type of things that, don't necessarily have much to do with it being a different, having to do things completely different than what we've done in the past. We just have to be willing to stay in the present and, with the target and with the expectations, just stay in the moment and play each game and each play for what it is.
Well, there's been times this season, I think after the Minnesota game earlier in the year, you expressed some displeasure in just the team's focus. Could you have done the same after the Miami game? But there's been also times where both of you have pleaded and emphasized just patience with going through the process. I guess can you just kind of take me through where you determine, what the best approach is in terms of dialing it up versus just trying to stay even keel about it?
Yeah, I think even when we're expressing frustration or disappointment with ourselves, with our team, we're still always, keeping the larger picture in perspective and, always in full recognition of what's required to get the job done. For us, it's, we've been here before. We understand the process that goes along with this, and you have to be willing to adjust and adapt and do what's required, and be able to read your teammates and read the situation and understand when it's necessary to say something, what it is you need to say, and then at other times when to just shut up and let guys figure it out for themselves. And I think largely we've learned a lot of that from Phil, from playing for him for so many years, and we've taken some of that into our own.
Fish, how much
Wrap it up with Fish, guys, and I'm going to take Phil next door for anybody that wants Phil.
Fish, how much realization is there on the floor at Sacramento? They've just come from 20 down. They're now 3 up. How much real awareness of the situation is there while you play the game? Just the overall situation. This would be a bad game to lose, big lead. I mean, how aware of you just are?
Yeah, no, we were, aware that we'd given up a 20-point lead, and it was going to be a bad loss to have experienced that it gone down that way. But I don't know how much, impact on the future we were registering in that moment. I think what was happening in the moment was probably bigger than what it meant for the future.
What was happening in the moment was bad enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was, looking ahead, it wasn't going to help us at that point. We had to figure that out.
Well, what I meant was, we talk all the time about scary things. That must have been pretty scary.
Yeah, no, it was a very weird feeling. A couple of us talked about after the game. Just kind of, it was almost like you were asleep and then you woke up and we were down 3 points with 9 seconds to go. I felt we were asleep also. It was weird. I mean, even watching it on film yesterday, it was weird. Some of the plays that took place and things that happened. But, we're the type of team that we're kind of, regardless of what happens, we're twisted enough to still figure out a way to use it as a positive. And, that's just from being through everything you could possibly think of as a group, and obviously our coaches and what they brought to our table, but specifically Kobe and myself. I mean, it's just, you figure it out, regardless of how ugly it looks and how bad you look or whatever. You figure out how to turn it around and flip things and get them in your favor at some point.